Yes, students, we are back to study our next geography lesson, air pressure. Yes, students, you all know about air. Have you seen air? No, air is invisible. Does air occupy space? Take a balloon and you fill in air, and you will see the balloon you blow the balloon. That means the air is filled inside the balloon. It occupies space. And does the air have weight? Yes, you can see here. Yes, air also has weight. What is air actually, children? You must have studied this in science. It is the mixture of all the gases that make up the Earth's atmosphere. You know all the gases which are surrounding here: oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor. Yes? But in this lesson, we are going to study about air pressure. Now we saw what was air. Air is all the gases around us in the atmosphere. Now what is the pressure? What is air pressure? Pressure is pressing. You press something hard against it. So this air pressure is caused by the weight of all the air in the atmosphere, and which is pressing down on the earth. And this air pressure changes with the height, with the altitude, and also when the air warms up or cools down. Changes in the air pressure causes changes in the weather. When the pressure changes, sometimes we get storm, there are wind, or even there is rainfall. Now we saw that, children, the air around us has weight and it presses against everything it touches. That pressure is called atmospheric pressure or air pressure. Now, atmospheric pressure is commonly measured with a barometer. With what? Atmospheric pressure is commonly measured with a barometer. Now, here you can see in this picture, children, 4 children are standing one on top of the other like a pyramid. We have in PT pyramid, or when you do this during your Govinda, you can see the group which is formed down, there is pressure on them on their shoulders. So similarly over here, down here on this girl with the green dress, there is a lot of weight, there is high pressure. So the pressure is coming down. On top the pressure is low. So we will see why the pressure is low on top and why the pressure is high down. Now the altitude and the air pressure. Altitude means the height. Now as we said, like when you're having the pyramid, on top the boy or the girl, whoever is there, has less pressure, whereas the person who's down in the circle has more pressure. Similarly here, the proportion of the dust in the air, water vapor and heavy gases is higher in the air closer to the surface of the earth, and this decreases with increasing altitude. Altitude is the height. So as you go higher and higher, the heavy gases are not there. Only the heavy gases, air, water vapor are all near the surface of the earth. So as one moves higher and higher from the surface of the earth, the air becomes thinner and thinner. So what happens? The air becomes thinner and thinner. So the air pressure decreases with increasing altitude. We will see in the next slide how the air pressure decreases because the air becomes thinner and thinner. Here you can see, children, in this slide, the atmospheric pressure decreases with altitude, with height, because air is getting thinner as the altitude increases. You can see here all these blue small balls. You can see they are all fighting to be near each other. There is no space because of the water vapor, the gases, and as they go up and up, It becomes, there's so much of space, the air becomes thinner and thinner, and so the pressure also decreases with the altitude or with the height. Now here we will see what happens with the temperature and the air pressure. As the temperature rises, as it becomes hot, the air gets heated. When you heat something, when you heat water, you can see the water vapor going up, children. Similarly, when the temperature rises, the air also gets heated. It expands and becomes lighter. This lighter air starts moving up towards the sky. Now, when you fill in air, warm air in a balloon, where will the balloon go, children? It will go up towards the sky. So, as a result, the air pressure in such areas decreases. Yes, children, in this diagram you can see the temperature zones, the different zones. Here we are having the equator. Then in the northern hemisphere we are having the torrid zone, the temperate zone and the frigid zone. Same in the south we are having the torrid zone, the temperate zone and the frigid zone. So in both the hemispheres we are having the different zones. The torrid zone, it lies near the equator, and where does it go? It extends to the Tropic of Cancer in the north and the Tropic of Capricorn in the south. Then we are having this frigid zone in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, and they lie where? Near the near the poles, polar region. This is the near the poles these zones are, and in between them lie in the north and in the south we are having the temperate zones. Yes, children? Then we'll study this diagram. Here we are learning about the pressure belts and the planetary winds. In this lesson, we are only going to study about the pressure belts. The planetary winds we will learn about in the next lesson on winds. So here we are going to study about the low pressure zone, high pressure zone. Yes, we have already studied how when the temperature rises, what happens to the air pressure, and when it cools down, what happens to the air pressure. Yes, the temperature zone and the pressure belts are interrelated. So the uneven distribution of the temperature brings about the change in the pressure. So this leads to the formation of the low pressure and the high pressure zones. Now see children, observe this diagram very carefully. We are going to learn about the pressure belts on the Earth's surface. This is the Earth. Now which is the center? The equatorial low pressure belt. We know near the equator it is very hot. So the temperature is higher in this region. So air in this region gets heated, it becomes light, it expands and it moves upwards. So when the air is light, and this goes on continuously. So which belt is formed over here? A low pressure belt between the parallels of 5 degrees north and 5 degrees south. Okay, now from the low pressure belt we will go to the high pressure belt, that is the mid latitudinal high pressure belts. Now the heated air, when it became light over here, it started going up. It went to the higher altitude near the polar region. And then the temperature here, it is very cold. Okay, it is very cold. The air became cool, it became heavy. The pressure became more, so it started falling down, because any heavy thing cannot stay up for long, children. It has to come down. Yes, so that's the reason the air cools down and it becomes heavy. So this heavy air, it comes in both the hemispheres, that is between 25 degrees and 35 degrees parallel in the north, and 25 degrees and 35 degrees parallels in this south, and this leads to the formation of this mid latitudinal high pressure belt. And children, here the air is very dry. The pressure is high and there is very dry, so there is no rainfall over here. And in this region mostly you will find the hot deserts. Okay, the deserts of the earth are found here in the mid latitudinal high pressure belt. Now, after learning about the mid-latitudinal high pressure belt, let us go to the subpolar low pressure belt. Now, children, you have seen the shape of the earth, the curvature, and this area becomes less over here. Yes, so this results in lesser friction of the air with the earth's surface, and air in this region is thrown out. Okay, and when it is thrown out, this leads to a low pressure belt in this region between 55 degrees to 65 degrees in both the hemispheres, northern and southern hemisphere. And now let us learn about the polar high pressure belt. The temperature there near the polar region is below 0 degrees throughout the year. It is very cold. So the pressure belts, high pressure belts are formed over here, right on top. In both the hemispheres you can see polar high pressure belt because it is very cold. They are generally occupy the area between 80 degrees to 90 degrees parallel in both the hemisphere. Yes, children? So we have studied about the equatorial low pressure belt, the mid latitudinal high pressure belt, the subpolar low pressure belt, and the polar high pressure belt. In the center it is low pressure, then high pressure, then low pressure, and then the high pressure belts. Now children, we have studied that the earth rotates around its axis and it revolves around the sun. So the duration and the intensity of the sun's rays, that is the heat, it changes during the year in both the hemispheres, because the angle at which the sun's rays will hit the earth will change in the year full time. When it is revolving, when it is very close to the earth, it will be very hot. When it is little away from the earth, so like that the intensity changes. And this change is of the order of 5 degrees to 7 degrees towards north in Uttarayan and 5 degrees to 7 degrees towards south in Dakshinayan. Now what is Uttarayan? Uttarayan, children, we have Makar Sankrant and Uttar is north. That means the sun is moving towards north. From south it is going north in Uttarayan, and it is going from north to south in Dakshinayan. Yes, so this is called the oscillation of the pressure belts. And one more thing, children. Due to the air pressure, various phenomena like wind, storm, and precipitation, that is the rainfall, occurs. What are isobars? Isobars are the lines that connects the places with equal pressure. Yes, the line that joins the places of equal pressure on the map is called an isobar.